Am I the a-hole for doing nothing for the child my ex-wife had from her affair partner, even now that I have primary custody of our kids? 6 years ago, my life got blown to hell. I was 38, had a good job, a house, and what I thought was a solid marriage with 3 kids. Then I found out my wife was cheating on me. Not just some fling, but a full-blown affair. The kind where she thought she was slick, but I started seeing the signs, the late nights, the phone always clutched in her hand, the sudden defensiveness. I'm a steady guy, always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, probably too much. That was my first mistake, really. I saw the red flags, but I tried to rationalize them away. She's just stressed, we're busy. All that bullshit. I thought maybe couples therapy could fix it, or that I could somehow understand her supposed needs. Wrong. When I confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. Just stood there, like a deer in headlights. I ended it right there. Filed for divorce the next day. Good for me, right? Except everything got delayed. Why? Because she was pregnant. With his kid. The affair partner's baby. That hit me like a goddamn freight train. It wasn't just cheating, it was a whole new level of betrayal. My stomach dropped to my ass. All that time, all that trust, just gone. Once her child was born and it was established that I was not the biological father, paperwork, DNA tests, all that fun stuff, my name was removed from the birth certificate, and the biological father's name was added. There were a couple at that point, her and the affair partner. Not my problem anymore. Or so I thought. Throughout all this, we shared 50-50 custody of our 3 kids. My kids were old enough to figure out what had happened, old enough to feel the sting of their mom's choices. They weren't stupid. I got them into therapy, eventually. My ex resisted it at first, of course. They don't need therapy. We just need to move on, she'd yell. Bullshit. She didn't want them in therapy because she didn't want them to come to terms with the fact that she was a rotten person. She wanted to sweep it all under the rug, pretend everything was fine, like her choices didn't have consequences. I pushed back, hard, with the help of my lawyer, and the judge agreed. So, they went to therapy, and we had talks about everything. I did my best to reassure them that they didn't need to hate anyone for me or reject anyone on my behalf. They didn't need to carry my baggage. But the relationship with their mom never fully recovered. And the relationship with her youngest, the half-sibling? Never existed from what I know. My kids realized their mom was an asshole, plain and simple. They saw her for what she was, without me even having to say it. Then, 3 years ago, the affair partner took off. Just vanished. That's what Chad and Tyrone do, right? Knock him up, then ghost when things get real. And since then, my ex-wife has started requesting that I take an active part in her kids' life. Why? Because you're so involved in our kids' lives. Get the fuck out of here with that. Now let me make this clear. I feel bad for this kid. I really do. His biological father, the affair partner, took off on him. That's not the kid's fault. And his mother is a mess, obviously. He has half-siblings who want nothing to do with him. It's a sad situation, and it's going to mess him up, no doubt. But that does not mean I have to take an active part in raising this kid. No. Fucking way. Each and every time she made this request, usually through the co-parenting app, I firmly said no. Every single time. She tried to take full custody of our kids because I refused to include her youngest. She saw it as retaliation, I guess. You're not going to take an active part in this kid who's not yours life. Then I'm going to try to take our kids back. She tried, God bless her soul. But a judge told her it didn't work like that. I did not have the legal responsibility to take her youngest child. Thank God for a good judge. This wasn't some soft-headed liberal judge, this was a guy who saw the bullshit for what it was. I ended up with primary custody of my kids a year ago. She made some very bad decisions, lost the house she was staying in, lost her job, had no savings, and overall was left with next to nothing. Couldn't have happened to a nicer girl. Again, I still felt bad for the kid, caught in the middle of her train wreck. Here's the thing, though, the kid's father is out there somewhere. I'm sure she could get the government after him, track his ass down for child support payments. She's got to have somebody else in her life, family that can step in. The sad thing is, a kid like this eventually is probably going to end up in the system, foster care, or maybe get adopted, because she's in no place to raise this kid. After all this happened, her requests for me to do something for her child increased. I ignored them for the most part and did as I was instructed by my lawyer. I only replied to messages that indicated I was legally responsible for ensuring the child was adequately cared for. Those I did say no to, and I reminded her there were places she could go if she needed help feeding her youngest. I mean, we all want to be decent people, but the second I help her out once with that kid, it opens the floodgates. At this point, if she can't take care of that kid and she's unstable, it's time for someone to make a phone call to Child Protective Services. This is getting out of hand. Our kids still have to go to her house for her every other weekend, vacation, and visitation. They hate it. Which, of course, angers my ex because they have zero relationship with her youngest. And it angers her that I won't ensure that all the kids have a good relationship. And that her youngest knows what it's like to have a fatherly figure. Not his problem. Not my problem. She had a marriage, she had 3 kids, and she ruined it by cheating with a scumbag who took off and left a few years earlier. It's not my problem. The nerve that these chicks have, I swear to God. She even said she would allow me to adopt her child if I was willing. What part does she not understand here? But you see, her perception of me is that I'm obviously weak, that I'm a pushover. She forgets I divorced her. She forgets I kept saying no. They don't stop. She said she would at least like me to do something to express some care for her child. Send birthday and Christmas gifts. Send food occasionally. Offer to let her child join in for some activities. I do none of this. Good. Stand your ground. Again, this poor kid, it's a messed up situation. I've asked my kids if they would like to spend more time with their half-sibling or give gifts, but they've always said no. And they told me that when they can make the decision not to go to their mom's house, they won't have anything to do with her child either. And I've made it clear, to them and to anyone who asks, that I'm not telling my kids not to do this. I support them either way, whatever they decide. But they don't want anything to do with this kid. And again, it's different with me because this isn't my kid. But technically, this child is his children's half-sibling. And again, this kid is innocent, and it is a shame. But if the kids don't want anything to do with the kid, they don't have to do it. My ex has become more angry because there are things her child has missed out on. Apparently, they ask more questions now. Some of her messages on the app are now extremely hostile towards me. I act like I'm a good person, but I treat the child like crap. She'll write. It's not his job, but it's not his place. No, it's not his job. He's not a white knight. Why isn't she spending all this time and energy going after the kid's father? That's the real question. I don't feel bad, exactly. I know I would have a very hard time being around this child, and they're innocent, so I prefer to stay away and not let them feel the weight of my issues with their mother and how they were conceived. But maybe that makes me an awful person. I know that, at the end of this, the child has only my ex and nobody else, and the child is innocent like I stated, which brought me to here to ask if I'm the a-hole. My opinion? No. But if this woman is this unstable and she can't care for the kids and doesn't have enough money, again, a phone call to Child Protective Services. This is getting out of hand here. It's a big giant mess. But guys, life is short, and I'm all for charity. I'm all for being a good person. But when it messes up your life big time, and you're being horribly taken advantage of on many fronts, like in this situation, then no, absolutely not. So I have no problem with what this guy is doing here. It's obviously different with the kids because they are the child's half-brother or whatever the hell it is, but still, this guy, no, it's not his job. She screwed up. That's only going to just make what she did okay. She should spend her time going after that guy. And what about his family? What about her family jumping in? Seriously. But again, if someone like this can't take care of the kid, the state's going to get involved. It's just a matter of time. And I do wish absolutely the best for this child. Some way, somehow, something good can come from this kid. But guys, you can't ruin your life. You don't light yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm. Here are some of my own comments about the situation. My attitude towards their mother has not played a role in their bad relationship with her. My kids' bad relationship with their mom. The choices she made have, and even her choice of an affair partner did to an extent. I did what I could. I put them into therapy to try to help them have the best relationship that they could, but they don't want it. I've told them they do not need to hate anyone for me, that they don't need to reject people for me, and these topics have been talked about in therapy, but they have remained steady in what they want, and actually, they feel stronger than ever. I don't know how old the kids are, but if that's what they want, that's what they want. My ex made a lot of bad decisions, which is why she lost 50-50 custody of our kids. She has fucked her life up, and it was decided it was in the best interest for the kids to live primarily with me. The fact they wanted to not play a role, but it was how they felt and what they needed. I got to tell you, she must have screwed up pretty bad in today's world if the judge thought it was best that I had primary custody. That says a lot about her. I think if I could love or care about the child, it could potentially be good for them, or it could alienate them from everyone more. But I cannot show them that. I don't believe my kids would blame me for how their half-sibling has grown up. And to be honest, I'm not sure they will ever care about their half-sibling. What it says is, I don't include them in activities because I feel it's better not to spend time with the child. Not only because I don't want to, but because I feel that, and my kids don't want to include the child either. And no, I never send gifts to the child. Again, I don't want to. The bad blood is there for a reason, and I didn't want to be on the hook for anything else. He sends one gift, does one thing, and next thing you know, it's gonna be expected of him. I guarantee you that. My kids are in therapy, and they have kept their stance strong. They never want any relationship with their half-sibling. That has never wavered. And if anything, they are more sure now because they have plans to actively remove all contact once they are allowed to. The therapist had discussed this with them, and it did not make them have a change of heart. I think when they're legally old enough, they won't have anything to do with their mother either. Finally, I've told my kids it would be okay and I would support them in having a relationship with their half-sibling. The relationship was also addressed by the therapist, but they do not want one. I would not be able to fake wanting a relationship with that child just to encourage them. Okay, there you go. Every single one of them doesn't want anything to do with the kid. They obviously don't want to have anything to do with the mom. There you go. So this guy, like I said, he handled things like a boss. He got rid of her, and she just completely screwed her whole life up. You know what? Too bad for her. But hopefully, we can all hope, some way, somehow, that kid will end up okay. Ain't going to be okay with her. So anyhow, guys, you got to take care of yourself. This is what this guy's about.